is possible. I said your dreams are possible. Elder Les Brown bringing us in, as always, with a motivational speech to get the cognitive juices flowing. What do they say? They used to say in university, to get the mouse of the treadmill moving, you know? Pleasure to be here on ECR Radio. You're listening to ECR Radio. This is Breaking Boundaries, the talk show where we explore, we look into, and we dive deep into current affairs, popular culture, behavior psychology, and relationship dynamics. This week, we're going to take a look at the article or the spin-off or the fallout from the article published earlier this year, Why Are Women So Angry? And try to read in between the lines and actually question if that is actually so, and if it is so, why? And if it isn't so, why would those responsible, want to project that kind of representation into the public sphere? Is it are we doing it for the bites? The artist said, we do it for the love, we don't do it for the likes, right? The roots and culture man teaches us that. But yeah, it's a blessing to be here, and we're looking forward to some conversation around the main topic. But as always, we like to set the table and set the tone, because I wouldn't like ECR to be held responsibility, because as you know, I am a tad unruly.
Topics addressed in today's program may deal with sensitive issues. Disclaimer. Topics addressed in today's program may deal with sensitive issues. For example, disclaimer. Topics addressed in today's program may deal with sensitive issues. For example, struggles with mental health, structural racism, sexual behavior, or politically polarizing themes. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers, commentators, experts, guests, or host. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect the channel's policy or founding principles. ECR cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed.
Cannot be and will not be.
Breaking Boundaries Talk Show with your host, Hugh Mayers. Sometimes controversial, often provocative, but always informative. You can call in to ask a question or share your opinion on 0782-611-5543.
So there you have it. When they say to be warned is to be informed. Shout out to the whole of the ECR crew. Lacey Vibes, I take your point on graciously. But the quote for the day, let me give you the quote for the day. And this is from the revolutionary psychiatrist, Frantz Fanon. The colonizer fears and awakened the mind more than an armed hand, because every revolution begins with a new way of thinking. All things are mental, right? All things are mental. So yes, the news update of the week. The big story is that the authorities have finally conceded that the late Reform MP Ann Widdecombe, that it's not no random killing and blood spilling, that there's a bit more to it. There is a bit more to the story. Police say that Ann Widdecombe's killing was targeted, right? They say motives remain unclear. However, the head counter-terrorism police assistant, Commissioner Lawrence Taylor, says Ann Widdecombe died in a brutal targeted attack. Brutal attack. However, they are not quite confident or willing as yet to go much more deeper when it comes to certain information, but they're telling us stuff. Let's read between the lines. Police said the murder and counterterrorism investigations are running in parallel. So they're investigating the terrorism aspect of the killing, right? This can potentially mean that the suspect eventually faces terrorism offences in addition to a murder charge. But it is not inevitable, and a murder can be prosecuted having a terrorist or political motive without any other charges alongside it. That's happened in other cases. For now, all police will say is that they are sure of is that Ann Widdecombe was specifically targeted. They won't be drawn into commenting on the motive. When various possible motives were put to them, they declined to comment, saying nothing is to be ruled out. The fact that the suspect has been arrested under the Terrorism Act means there is further time to hold him before a necessity to charge him or release him. This will allow officers to further examine digital devices and question witnesses as they seek to establish what lies behind such a brutal attack. So I know there's been some talk in the ECR chat, and do remember the phone line for later on is 07826 115543. However, just to make a mental note when we open the lines, that there is also the ECR chat, which is on the website, and you can leave a comment. And I know that there's been some comments made, weeks, or at least last week, should I say, where it was mentioned before that this looks like terrorism. This looks like there's a lot more going on. This looks like she was targeted. So I know that, the ECR family, they do their research, and that before the counterterrorism police was involved, people were already, calling that out. But there is a little bit of a, there is a little bit of a twist as well, because Ann Widdecombe, I wouldn't say controversial, but let's say prominent figure. But recently, as you do, social media sends you things, right? The algorithm is always watching you. So if you you look into a particular topic, right? That once you Google it, don't be surprised if you start to receive information that you've been Googling starts to come up in your Instagram feed, right? But we know that already, that they're watching us. So I want to share with you all what came up in my Instagram feed, lo and behold, right? And very, very interested in getting your feedback.
Inappropriate, and I think you will regret what you. To be honest, I'm a bit shocked to hear that. I think that's completely inappropriate, and I think you will regret what you just said there.
She was murdered in her life, especially being 78 as well. I think that's quite a sad way to go out. But yeah, I think there is a lot of controversy around how she lived her political life. I'm a real believer that the values that we hold are the politics that we practice, and I feel like it would go amiss to not mention the fact that she pushed against LGBTQ plus rights throughout all of her career. I would also feel like it's time to say that she also said a lot of things about the victims of Harvey Weinstein during the Me Too. She said they chose it upon themselves, and she was vehemently anti-abortion, which in this country is not such a political issue in the same way that it is in the States. So I feel like even though what's happened is absolutely awful, there are a lot of people who won't be grieving this.
Nigel, do you think that's fair at a time when she...
To be honest, I'm a bit shocked to hear that. I think that's completely inappropriate, and I think you will regret what you just said there.
I'm just stating the facts of her political
career. A lady has been murdered, and actually
exactly,
on some of the things
awful.
you said, there's lots of people, there's lots of gay friends of hers, she said, and I said in the comments, many of the points she made were grounded in her faith, her
I'm
beliefs,
also a Christian,
which are shared. You may not, but respect her views. and respect many other people's views who fundamentally disagree with you. And I'm really sad to be sitting on a chair here today.
I hear
next
that,
to you because
but as someone who
I'm quite uncomfortable sitting next to you after what you just said. To be honest,
I hear that, but as someone who is queer, my rights has been affected by her speeches. She's been a part of reform, which, as someone who had to live through what was a race riots of last year, her actions have contributed to a lot of my community having very difficult lives. So yes, it's audibly important. We do recognise.
At this time, it's sometimes just important to stop and reflect.
It doesn't sound like you do respect her.
No, I do, but I also don't feel the need to erase history. She did say those things, and as you said, she was a vehement person supporting her own opinions. And I can say the legacy that she's left has been a mixed bag for a lot of different people.
Well,
that does not excuse
there's a time and a place to express those views and comments, and now is not the right time.
But we're talking about her legacy, so I think it is.
To be honest, I'm a bit shocked to hear that. I think.
Woo! So you heard that one. That was I don't want to say in black and white, but that was in plain speech. The young sister, Days Hadji. I'm going to struggle with her name, and if I pronounce her name, please do forgive me, right? She spoke her mind, and it left me with a bit of a dilemma. I was reflecting on the idea of, she a truth teller? Because I didn't really, not that I agree with every political point that she made and, pro-abortion or anything like that, or trans rights. I'm not getting into that side of her views and a critique of Ann Widdecombe's politics. It's a matter of personal belief and conviction, right? But when she said that there will be lots of people that will not be celebrating, that was the essence in what she said. And talking about reform, I guess, I'm creeping, I'm leaking into some of the politics and the race riots of 2024, etc., right? Making life difficult for people of color in this country. She wasn't lying. In fact, I commented in there, this is on Douglas Murray's feed, of all people, right? I said she didn't lie, right? But there's a question. Truth teller or in poor taste? The woman just died. So, was that the time to tell the truth? Was she doing a little bit of, although she's very well spoken, was she doing something which is quite common in black cultures, right? Africa, the Caribbean, or the Americas, where I'm in a business, I don't care. Like, was she leaning into a little bit of that frequency? Because was it the time or the place? She took the gloves off. There was no holds barred. It had me thinking, not that one would gloat or celebrate the demise of an opponent or a foe, or she's only a political adversary at best. She's not an enemy, right? As such. So is it a done thing? And I looked in the comments, and one of the things that there's different comments that come up, right? There's one that says, for example, disgusting to try and get one over someone who has been murdered. Yeah. Overreaction by the bloke. Opinions are opinions, both sides, right? I don't see any problem with what she said. I thought she was very respectful. The right's faux pas outrage is getting ridiculous. The lady on the right is very respectful in the way that she delivers the truth. Another comment says, oh, no one deserves to die for their opinions unless it's ones you don't agree with. Insane. But there is that element that does come up in political discourse. I say element. That line from Animal Farm, the story Animal Farm, where it says all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. And I know that's leaning into the idea that people tend to, left or right, tend to have a certain set of principles and rules that they want their political adversaries to adhere to. But when it's to be applied to them, then they have issue with that. Just like the fact all these right-wing people who are not for censoring and are the major free speech advocates in terms of political discourse. You don't really hear right-wing pushing cancellation. People should be cancelled. That's a very left-wing, very way of doing things, trying to silence people. Let me read some more comments though, because it got me thinking. Ann would have tore her to pieces had she been alive to debate her. Why do the left think it's wrong to have different opinions to them? This is a good question, a good rhetorical question. Ann was for all speech. She wouldn't whine, I believe, so she wouldn't mind. But then there's some other people who think it was in poor taste. One man says BBC should be shut down. Another one says she's allowed her own opinions. To blame someone else for your problems is unbelievable. Famous quote once said, when you check your mind properly, you stop blaming others for your problems. Let me give you a few more. I'm disgusted with this person. Another says she was on Big Brother 2 years ago. I don't know what that's got to do with it, but apparently it's a trap. It says, hold on, a lot of LGBT people are like her. I know I've come across a news story where there's somebody from the LGBT community, a trans woman, that's been prosecuted by the police for stuff they've posted online, but they went wicked. They went full wicked and were saying things like, I hope she was in pain. I hope she suffered before she went out, and, like calling her various names. And I'm like, well, I mean, you can have political opponents, but surely that isn't cricket. You know what I mean? Like, what's all that about? Like, hoping that she suffered. She's an old 70-year-old woman. I mean, whatever, she's a person. Like, is that what, we can have difference of opinion, but is that where we're going? But you know what? I am left with, and I can't move beyond the idea of Ann Widdecombe herself. Because she has a famous quote. And the quote reads, right? The quote reads that no one has the right to live their lives protected from offense. So if we take that into account, right? How does that play out? Because the question then is, well, why are people on the right offended? Because Anne she lived for that free speech. So are we going to be now offended and play political outrage when she said that's the whole point? You can say what you like about any religious group, about any, well, not any religious group, but nearly any religious group. Right, when people are hypocrite. All religions are equal, but some are more equal than others. I don't even have to say it. I don't even have to explain it. I don't even have to break it down. But you know which religions are, what's the word I'm looking for? Fair game, and which will get you a criminal charge if you try to do the same exact thing. But yeah, she said no one has a right not to be offended. So if people find it offensive, I'm not sure what the right answer is with that, but you have to think about what she lived for in that statement. To be consistent, you have to hold that one. You have to take an L. I personally think it's in bad taste in terms of the timing, but yeah, the sister spoke her truth. Let the record stand. I'll catch you after the break.